Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking. Every once in a while I get a game that just kind of evokes a certain response, and this is the Endangered Orphans of Condyle, Cove. This is a 2 or 3 player game in which each person is playing an orphan that is being chased down and being terrified by the boogeyman. Each person will try to keep their orphan alive as long as possible and try to make sure that the other people's orphans die, because that's how you win, being the last orphan alive. Isn't that nice? Alright, so obviously the game has a pretty provocative theme, if you will, but the gameplay is a lot of fun, so let me just show you how the game is played, and we'll come back here and I'll tell you. Here we go. This is Endangered Orphans of Condyle, Cove. Now, I've already gone ahead and set up the game for 3 players. It plays 2 or 3. Each person gets their own deck of options cards. Your option cards are your lifeblood. If you ever run out of those, you are captured and eaten by the boogeyman. And by eaten by the boogeyman, the rules say that is eaten. And by eaten, we mean you are killed and eaten by the boogeyman, which is how you lose the game. Basically, you want to be the last orphan that's left alive. You place the boogeyman's house, which is the kitty corner, right in the middle of the board, and then you draw 4 Cove cards, which are located there, and put them in the 4 cardinal directions around the kitty corner. Then each person is allowed to place their pawn on one of these locations on the board, and you can double up on the space. You don't just use up the spot. Spaces have an effect that happens, like here the cemetery. If you land there, you have to discard a card from your hand. Never a good thing. Here on the alleyway, if you're there, cards can't be stolen from your hand. The woods, nobody can move you around, and at the highway you can add 1 or 2 to your movement when you're there. You'll notice also there's these cards over here called the Acts of Desperation. Now, since the option cards are your lifeblood, as you run out of those, you may be in a situation where you need to get more options, more cards available to you. You can go to the kitty corner in the middle, and if you're there, you get to draw an Acts of Desperation. However, the kitty corner is the boogeyman's house, and you run the risk of the boogeyman finding you and eating you. And so underneath one of these cards is the boogeyman, and if you draw that card, you're immediately out of the game no matter how many options cards you have. However, the other option cards will give you things that you can do to replenish the cards that you have in your hand and in your deck and what have you. So when you deal these out, you deal out equal numbers. When there's 2 players, each person will start with the same number. With 3 players, one person will have 1 less card than the other 2 people. It doesn't seem to matter that much, which because we've had people win that have the 1 less card, though it would seem that would, because the cards are the lifeblood. But this game is full of a lot of spite and anger towards each other, so it seems to police itself, if you will. But anyway, so you start by drawing 2 cards and putting them into your hand. I'm not going to bother doing the other 2 here. You have a maximum of 4 cards in your hand, so just keep that in mind. And so here we have a card, the Hidden Away. If you're in the alley, you can steal 3 cards from another player's deck. And then we have Leave This Place, move any player 2 spaces. On your turn, you have 3 phases of your turn. You move, you play, and you draw. Both moving your character around the board, and playing during from your hand, are completely optional. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but you absolutely positively have to draw 2 cards during the draw phase. And those cards either come from your options deck, or they can be the Cove cards, which add to the map of the board. Once the Cove cards run out, however, obviously that will make it so you have to draw from your deck here in the middle. A very, very important thing. Timing is everything. You're going to be putting together combos of cards in your hand, the combo with the things that happen on the board as well. You can't forget certain things. If I really, really wanted to get to the woods, but I played a card first to mess with somebody, I can't go back and do a move. You have to do your move, you have to do your draw, and you have to play your cards. You have to move and then play your cards in the correct order, and then do your draw or whatever. So on your turn, just for example, like you have these 2 cards. Maybe I could move any player 2 spaces. I could take this person, and since I can't move the person in the woods, I could play the move card, and I can move them to the cemetery. So when I play that, I put that down. That makes them discard 1 card immediately from your hand. Now make sure hand and deck are very important. Hand, obviously, are the hands you have in your card. Deck is otherwise. So, like, if this person was there and says cards cannot be stolen from your hand, but I have this card that says you're in an alley. If you're in the alley, steal 3 cards from another player's deck. That's different. Hand and deck are different, obviously. And see, I already screwed up the timing wise. So, like, maybe if I had wanted to move, like I said, I wanted to go to the alleyway so I could play this card, the other players would be totally in the right and saying, no, mister, you already skipped your move phase. You can't do that if you want to. But let's just say I didn't, for the sake of an argument. And so then I played the other card here where it says, if you're in the alleyway, steal 3 cards from another player's deck. Now, as you play this game, you are beginning to become more and more accustomed to the different types of cards that are in in the decks. And sometimes when you discard cards, you'll just discard them face down. That's very important that you discard them face down. You can look at them first, then discard them face down, because that's very important information. But when the other players have no idea what cards have been discarded, they are gambling that certain cards might exist or are in other people's hands, and they don't really know. So here we go. So we're going to steal 2 cards, steal 3 cards from another player's deck. We just pick on this poor soul right over here. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, steal their top 3 cards off their deck. Their cards in their hand would remain the same. And so now let's just see what we got here. So absolute fear. All players not in the hills must discard 2 cards from their deck, not their hand. Here we have safety in covers. All players not in town must discard 3 cards in their deck. And here we have a detour. Now the detour is clever because it replaces any Cove card with this one, then place that Cove card in a new spot of your choice. So if you get this, and you can't do this on something where people are on it, but like say you didn't want the highway there anymore, you just cover it up and then you can move the highway. So you go, here's a detour, and then just put the highway over into this location. The only, whenever you're placing Cove cards, basically they can only be adjacent to one other person. Just think dominoes rules and you'll understand exactly how that works. So that's how that works. But anyway, so I'll just leave that out there for that. So I did my move, I did my play, and now I'm gonna draw. So I can draw 2 cards I have to draw. I can draw them from my options, I can draw them from the Cove, or I can combine them. I could draw 2 Cove cards and put them out there if I really liked my hand. I didn't want to bother. But let's just do 1 of each. So you go, here's, we got Swept Away. Anyone on the creek or beach must discard all cards in their hand. That's a good card. As long as you're not on the beach, obviously. Let's just draw 1 Cove card, and here we have the hills. Hills cards cannot be stolen from your options deck if you are in the hills. And so you just go ahead and place that like so. There you go. That inherently is the game. I don't want to, there's tons of different cards and things that you can do. There's some cards, I'll just find one here in this person's deck, I'm sure, if I can find one. Actually, oh wow, yeah, they only got 1 defensive card. So sometimes you have like Cat on a Lamp, cancel any options card just played. If so you have defensive, and you can tell that they can be played at any time due to the fact that they have the red background. They say defensive on those. But so if you're in the open field, steal 3 cards. If you are on the beach or the creek, steal 1 card from another player's hand. This ends your turn. So there's all these different cards that kind of go by the same premise. That like basically you're trying to move the other people around and trying to steal the stuff that they have. Now as your cards run out slowly but surely, eventually, unless you've been knocked out, you're going to end up trying to go to the kitty corner to try to save yourself, and then you're going to draw one of these cards at random. I have no idea, so let's just pick one and see what we get. Alright, so here's one. Leaving clues. Move the bottom 2 cards on every player's discard pile to the bottom of your deck. So obviously then you replenish your cards. Now I'm just going to, let's see, which one do you think? I can't hear you because this isn't live, but Boogeyman! Ah, I did pick the Boogeyman. Okay, so you picked the Boogeyman and you're out. 2-player game. obviously the other person wins. However, in a 3-player game, what happens there is that you take the boogeyman, and then what you're going to do is you take the remaining cards again, because you want to leave the boogeyman in the little options or whatever. You shuffle them up again. Let's get rid of that one, because it's not going to be used. And then you place them out again. So then with the other 2 people still have the possibility of drawing the boogeyman and being eaten by him. And by eaten, we of course mean being eaten. And by being eaten, we mean by being killed and eaten. So anyway, so there you go. That is Endangered Orphans. That's how you play. The game plays quick. It is very grim. It is very evil in a way, but it is a lot of fun. And I'll talk more about that in my final thoughts. Every once in a while, you find a game that, like, if it had been something completely different. I mean, you could have taken this theme and applied it to spaceships or asteroids or Old West or pirates or whatever. But I'll be completely honest, it is the artwork and the fact that you are this terrified little orphan running around in this, like really cool-looking, kind of Tim Burton-esque a cartoon world with this horrible, horrible, misshapen boogeyman chasing you down. It's one of those things that immediately when you start playing it, it is kind of a take that game. It is like a spatial game. It is just basically a deck game, really. I mean, but the theme sells it, and the artwork sells it, and I mean, just the response that it kind of generates in everybody as they play and as they kind of experience the dread of drawing these cards, the dread of watching your options deck slowly deplete, and you're wondering if you can somehow make it last longer than everybody else's. It just has this wonderful like tenacity of the experience, the gripping feeling of dread is very very live in this game, and there's nothing worse than like seeing the end coming. It's weird, and this is a completely totally different game, and but like when you're playing poker and you're playing a tournament, and you just can't get 2 good cards to go all in on, and you're watching your chips getting blinded away, and your options are becoming more and more desperate. It's kind of the same feeling, but in here, instead of just like losing the money that you put up for the tournament, you are losing your life because you're being eaten alive by a horrible supernatural creature. But I just, for some reason, that really struck with me. I kind of felt the same way when I was playing this game and I was in danger of losing. And losing I did quite a bit. But I had a lot of fun losing, and I think that is the mark of a great game. So there you go. That is Endangered Orphans. If you have any questions about it, ask away. I'll be happy to answer those to the best of my ability. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video, and until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. Alright, bye-bye.